It's birthday week on RaceSpotTV, and what a place to start our celebratory week of coverage than the Skip Barber Racing School Championship for Club UK and Ireland. Coverage from the Ile Notre Dame, Montreal, Canada will start after these messages. You're watching RaceSpotTV.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
RaceSpotTV celebrates its first birthday this coming week, but we have ourselves an amazing week of coverage for you to just make it a little bit more exciting. We start with Monday night, which means, of course, it is Skippy night here on RaceSpotTV as we welcome you to coverage of the Club UK and Ireland Skip Barber Racing School Championship from Villeneuve on the Ile Notre Dame Island in Montreal, Quebec in Canada. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Will Vincent along with Rachel Whiteford, joined by special guest Randy Chenworth. And Rachel, well, qualifying just completing here, looking at the last couple of drivers on the racetrack. We've got George Streetley qualified in 8th place. We saw Saturday night these cars at this track. We know you can get some great racing here.
Well, good evening, Will. We're here back at Circuit Park, Montreal. It's going to be an incredible race. We saw an awesome race this Saturday night with the 2K Cup with some dramatic overtaking. This track is tough. It's unforgiving, and it's going to be amazing.
Did you call it Circuit Park Montreal?
Yes, I did.
Actually call it Circuit Park Montreal?
Yes, I did.
Randy Chenworth, hi. Would you like to actually call this track by its real name?
Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, named after the famous Canadian driver Gilles Villeneuve, who died at Zolder. It's like I actually pay attention to racing.
See, I knew it was called that. I had a momentary brain fart. Yes, I was thinking Circuit Park Zandvoort for some reason.
You know,
but anyway,
different continents, as we can see.
Completely.
Currently scored in the 6th place in qualifying. Now he has done all his laps. Just, testing that car out. You've got Tom Stanley on the racetrack there in the classic Lotus colours. That number 961 machine working itself down towards the Il Notre Dame hairpin once again. Currently scored in the 23rd position. Got ourselves like 10 seconds left of qualifying, so he won't make it back to the start-finish line in time. And for all intents and purposes, qualifying is now going to be scored as complete. And that gives us the opportunity then to run through your starting grid for tonight's event. As that checkered flag, as you can see now, is indeed out. So, your starting grid then for tonight's event, and it is on pole position, Sebastian Job, qualifying time of a 1 minute 54.243. Tom Ward lines up alongside him on that front row of the grid. The 708 machine of Rob Kane in 3rd, Matthew Daniels in the 4th position, then you got Richard Avery in 5th spot, Paul Grillo in 6th, Roderick Zavidovic in 7th, George Streetley in 8th, Clark Williams in 9th, and then Mark Mercer rounding out your top 10. Behemoth Nidez in the 11th position, George Lee Wright in 12th, David Burnett in 13th, Mark O'Connell 14th, Adam Dodd in 15th, with Theobald Suberend in the 16th position, Robert Plumney, Mark Turner, James Steele, and Keith Sharp rounding out your top 20. It's a big field here once again, Rachel, and we're just a minute away from going racing at Montreal.
we are indeed, Will. The start of this first lap is incredibly tough. We've seen it before. It can cause some major incidents, so drivers are going to have to be very careful starting this race. But no pit stop tonight, and we saw from the drama on Saturday, pit entry is also a passing zone now, apparently.
Yep, as you can see then, those cars now just starting to line themselves up on the starting line, getting themselves set to go racing in just a couple of moments' time. There you can see the middle part of your grid. Just waiting for Sebastian Job, front of the field. There you can see him. That number 23 car. Engines are revving. And another round of the championship just about to get itself underway here on RaceSpotTV. It's a short, quick, fast 13 minutes of action around this magnificent Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and it will get underway in just 1 moment's time. The last couple of cars working themselves to the grid. They are Robert Plumney and Mark O'Connell getting themselves now set for the start here at Montreal. As you can see there, your first couple of rows, it is Sebastian Job out front. Those engines are now revving, and this round of the championship will start right now. There's a bit of a slow start there for Sebastian Job as the cars come down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. That's going to allow Ward to go side by side of him. They are too wide as they come down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. Ward, if he can hold that momentum, will be inside for the next corner. He can't do so. The field all funneling through turn number 1 for the first time, and Rachel, looks as though 2 races in a row, we're going to get everyone through turn number 1 and 2.
I wouldn't say that yet, Will, because they're still rounding turn number 2 at the back of the pack, although they have gotten through cleanly. This lap is still not over yet. We can still see a lot of drama. We saw it on Saturday down towards the second hairpin that it can happen, but this field pretty cautious right now, Will, making a lot of ground, giving each other a lot of respectful racing room, having a few little taps here and there, but they're getting through okay.
Yep, so your first couple of drivers have got themselves single file there, but a little bit more spread out in your mid-pack, so right on board then with that number Club 100 car. Mark Mercer, number 33 car, as he looks down to the inside, or George Streetley as they work themselves down into that second chicane. Now, Randy, this is one of the corner where the curbs can really catch drivers out. All of the chicanes here at Montreal each present that individual risk to drivers.
Yeah, all the chicanes here can be very slippery, and you got to watch out for the curbs here in order to not damage the car. The layout we have is actually the NASCAR circuit, which has the big curbs that you can hop, which the big stock cars can take, but Formula 1 or these Skip Barbers probably don't have the suspension travel to be able to put up with it, so they're probably going to have to be careful. I'm not going to see too much chicane cutting, I imagine, but Have to see, Sebastian Job, though, has got himself out to a pretty commanding lead here coming to the end of this first lap.
Yeah, they can see it's 1.7 seconds a gap on the racetrack. It's got a little bit of side-by-side racing, a little bit further back as we ride on board then with that driver of Clark Williams, Raheem Masanides, just ahead of him as they come down into that final chicane. On the outside, you have a big concrete wall that says Bienvenue en Quebec. Welcome to Quebec. And that wall of champions catching out a number of drivers over the years. But it's Sebastian Job who leads lap number 1 here, coming down onto lap number 2. And there you can see, visually, the gap back to Tom Ward is already up to 2 seconds. Sebastian Job, Rachel, is on fire.
He is again, Will. He won, of course, on Saturday night, and he knows exactly how to get to victory lane here at Montreal. But Sebastian Job, good, nice, clear lead. 2 seconds right now is good, breaking into draft range. Of course, the guys behind him in a 4 or 5 car of trains, so they're going to be slowing each other down more than catching up to him. So, early lead for Sebastian Job could be successful in securing this victory.
So then, your top 5 as it stands right now is Job from Ward, from Daniels, from Avery, from Grillo. We have had everyone complete that first lap of the race with the exception of George Streetley. He is currently on pit road. A little bit of damage then to that car. He will be classified in the 36th and last position on the racetrack. Having looked down the field, things are getting themselves a little bit more spread out. But as always, you do know that it's a lot of close racing on this racetrack. As you can see, that you've got ourselves a little bit of a scrap forming now for P number 2, P number 3 on the racetrack. So we're right on board with Matthew Daniels hunting down Tom Ward in that battle for position now. Kenworth.
And they come down to this famous tie hairpin here, coming which leads to the long back straightaway. But amazing to see how Tom actually goes. Coming through turn 1 and 2 on the first lap, he actually got a little bit of a bump from a car behind, and he had a little bit of damage on that rear wing. And we'll see how it affects him coming down these long straights.
Yep, and there you can see we zoom in on that battle then, and you can see it's mighty close. You can see just behind as well, you've got yourselves that number 78 car coming into play as well. That is Richard Avery. It's down to the inside then, will go Matthew Daniels as they work themselves down in towards that final chicane. There you can see Daniels completing that pass as they come down into that chicane. Nice, easy pass complete there. Daniels just getting a little bit of that curve, not too much. He now has the unenviable task of trying to hunt down Sebastian Job, Rachel.
He does indeed, and Sebastian Job's a hard fish to catch, but Tom Ward, knowing that friction racing machine, only one of the faster ones, but Matthew Daniels, he ran well on Saturday too. Well, he's holding position pretty well at the moment, so this could be a definite progression, but with 2 teammates sitting behind him, it'll be tough.
Riding on board with Rob Kane on that number 708 machine, currently scored in the 8th place on the racetrack. Well, he is down 5 positions from where he qualified, so he's not having a good day at all. And this is going back to what we were talking about, Randy. Got some damage to the front end of that car. That was the incident that we saw with Tom Ward at the very start of this race.
Yeah, I'm sure that damage is holding him up a little bit. I know these cars don't make too much downforce, and there's really not too many fast corners on this track where you really use it, at least not in these cars, but I'm sure it's hindering him down the straights. Maybe have a little suspension damage as well, who knows, but he's definitely dropping off at a pace that I'm sure he wouldn't want to be dropping through the field.
In your mid-pack, we still got ourselves a lot of battling going on. We can see there Mark Turner and Theobald Superan battling for position as they come down into that second chicane. That number 13 machine trying to look down to the inside of Mark O'Connell. That is Mark Turner. We ride along board with him as they work themselves out of that second chicane down towards the Il Notre Dame hairpin again. They can see just behind that number 17 car, a little bit of damage on that. That is that driver of Theobald Superan as they work themselves down into the hairpin, and Superan rooking around the outside. They can try and do the cut under, but Superan's going to lose a position there, Rachel. Great momentum on the outside line, and look at him go around the outside.
Brilliant move there, Will. Absolutely stunning racing. This field's getting pretty active pretty early on, of course. This race is only 13 laps long, so 10 to go now. They have to start moving.
Yeah, as you can see then, they work themselves back down in towards the chicane. That number 13 car is going to try and make a move back as they come down into that final chicane. It's always risky when you run too wide here. Little bit of contact, not too much. And that number 13 car coming oh so close to the wall there as they come down towards the top finish line. Once again, they're going to go free ride now down in towards turn number 1. Number 13 car on the outside. You've got that number 17 in the middle. Now that 147 machine, that is real bit Plumney down on the inside. Not able to complete that pass. So Plumney will stay in line for the time being. Great, there's a lot of action going on in your mid-pack. Out front, however, we'll turn our attention back because now Richard Avery has moved himself up into the 3rd place on the racetrack, and it looks as though that we've lost someone along the way. We're trying to figure out who that is in just a moment of time. But Tom Ward back into second place, and Richard Avery now into third place, Randy.
Yeah, Richard Avery, he's obviously got that black stripe. You can see it on his helmet. Pro driver experience, and he's got a teammate in front of him. They probably worked together getting through Daniels there, but now they're just going to try to work together, pull away, and try to catch Sebastian, which is going to be a pretty tough ask for them right now. He's out there to about a 3-second lead at the moment.
Yeah, that last time by, Sebastian Job did a 154.881. It was 154.9 for Tom Ward, a 154.8 for Richard Avery. So Avery just holding serve right now, but you might see a little bit of teamwork coming into play here as they work themselves out of the Il Notre Dame hairpin. A train of 5 cars right now. They all do seem to be willing to stay in line as they work themselves down that very long back straightaway. Now they're with 1994 and 1995. They did have a little bit of kink and chicane at this section of the racetrack as part of Formula One's trying to reduce speeds and be a little bit more safe initiative. Didn't work out too well, to be fair, but you can see they're working themselves down into that final chicane once again. It's the 09 car of
Sebastian Job hit the wall of champions. Sebastian Job hit the wall of champions. He didn't hit it hard, but he brushed it.
We'll get ourselves another look at that one. But Rachel, you always say once in a while you've got to hit the wall of champions if you're going to make something of your career. Well, Sebastian Job, we're going to have a look at a replay of him. He does hit the wall. Doesn't look to be too bad. He might just be able to carry on.
Well, all the greats will have hit that wall at some point in their careers, so it's not exactly surprising that someone like Sebastian Job will do it too. Pushing to the ragged edge, these things happen, and he is definitely running away now. Over 3.2 second lead, he's going for it.
And I tell you what, that was just like what you do at Indianapolis. The fastest times I've found just inches from the wall. Sebastian Job just grazing that wall, giving it a little bit of a love tap, Randy. He does just about get away with that. It was basically a flush impact there, so that won't do any damage to that bodywork at all.
Actually, he's got a little kinks through it, but I don't think it'll affect him too much. Main thing that I'll have to worry about is the suspension with that. There's a good chance that's fine just too, but it's one of those things, the fastest times are found inches from the wall, but when you're 3 seconds out, sometimes it's a little better to give yourself a couple inches of breathing space.
And the thing is, as well, is that even with that, Rachel, he was still 2 tenths per second faster than Tom Ward, who runs in that second place. So you can see confirmation of the times there up on your screen. And Ward himself now got himself a half-second advantage over Richard Avery, so we haven't looked from the rear of him.
Yeah, I actually believe we missed it, but Tom Ward actually worked himself back around his teammate.
Yep, so Ward is in second place. Avery is in third. Behind is Matthew Daniels. 5th place is Roderick Sredovic. 6th place is Paul Grillo. 7th place is Mark Mercer. 8th is George T. Wright. 9th place is Rob Kane. And then Clark Williams rounds out your top 10 right about now. But you can see that Avery closing that gap up as they work themselves down into that final chicane once again. Avery, though, going to stick it in line. They're going to try and do another lap of hunting down Sebastian Job. There you can see Ward. There you can see all these drivers running on that
Job hit the wall of champions again. Job hit the wall of champions again. He hit it much harder this time.
And there's some damage to that car now. You can see as he comes down in towards turn 1, some damage to the front end plate, and he pushes wide. Sebastian Job going to pull that car off the racetrack. Sebastian Job, Rachel, is out of the race.
He is, Will. He took front right wheel damage to that suspension on that Skip Barber racing car. He definitely damaged the toe there. Came to turn in and it would not play ball. Tragic for him, just pushing too hard to make too much of a gap too early on, and well, it's cost him well.
Yeah, and there you can see the damaged part of the car right about there. Well, it's game over for Sebastian Job. We're going to get ourselves another couple of looks at it, however, and there you can see then we're going to get ourselves another look in. Well, he just hit that second part of the curb incorrectly. Now, if you do it properly, you can run over the first bit of the curb, get away from it, work and over the second part of the curb as well, and it kind of straightens you out. I think in this scenario, what happened, Randy, was that he just caught the curb at just the complete wrong time, and that car just bounced him towards the wall, and from there is nothing you can do.
Yeah, he was loose going into the chicane, and in some way, though, he's kind of a passenger at that point. He didn't hit the curb while he had good traction on the rear, which is what you need to do. He was sideways, and when he hits that curb, it threw him out into the outside wall. Definitely feel bad for Sebastian. He's a very quick guy, and he was stretching himself out to about a 4-second gap here after about 5 laps, 6 laps.
Yeah, and we'll give ourselves another look at that one. You can see then the suspension pieces that were damaged. You can notice right as he comes out of the wall, right about here, is where the damage is to that car, and that right front toe completely bent in, Rachel. Game over for the job, but what that does mean, however, is that our new race leader is Tom Ward.
It is indeed, and his new Friction Racing teammate Richard Avery behind him will probably not be contesting it too soon. New into the bed means you don't want to kick somebody that's already in there out, and stealing a race victory would be interesting, shall we say, but it looks like he's under threat from Daniels. Well, we don't know, but he's currently playing Barrichello to Ward.
Yep, as you can see then, your top 5 drivers all of a sudden separated by just 1.5 seconds. At the rear of the train is Paul Grillo. There you can see confirmation of the gap, just 1.5 seconds. Grillo, though, is struggling to kind of hold on to this group. You can see that. Snap oversteer through that first chicane, Randy. And he's going to have to be careful to not overuse these tyres, because some very fast drivers ahead of him. Shavidovic, Daniels, and Avery he'll have to get past before you can even have a bit of a go at your new race leader, Tom Ward.
Yeah, I think if you're Grillo right now, you need to just be patient. It's a short race. Well, he knows that, and he's probably thinking he needs to work his way forward. But the cars in front of him know that too. And if he just sits there, any incident that happens while these guys try to pass each other, or if they slow each other down trying to race each other, they're going to, he's going to just benefit. He's going to catch up.
Davidovic is going to look down to the inside. You can see there the number 41 car, Matthew Daniels, side by side, coming down into the hairpin. Davidovic around the outside. We have seen good traction by drivers on the outside line. Rachel Davidovic going to get side by side. And again, look at the way that high line works.
It does indeed. You just get a bit more momentum going, Will, and this car loves its momentum. You keep that speed up and it'll pay off.
As they work themselves down this back straightaway once again, you can see then Shavidovic, Paul Grillo right behind, just sucking up to the toes. They come down into that final chicane once again, and you'll just see now right hand side of your screen, Davidovic is able to hold that position just for the time being, worked himself up the corner, moving himself now into a podium position as we just complete the halfway point of this lap. And you'll notice as well that we did get a quick mention from Sebastian Job that he said that he was losing half a second a lap if he was to be careful through that chicane there, Randy. And it's the thing, that corner is just so difficult for drivers to deal with that you've got to be aggressive, and he was being aggressive because he's making up a lot of time as we ride along board with Rob Kane in the 8th position. But if you try and take it easy, those guys would have been back on him before the end of this race.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of those risk versus reward things, and he was obviously playing the big risk, and it bit him. Sometimes it bites you, sometimes it don't. Sometimes probably not a whole lot he could have done about it. I'm sure Sebastian's a quick enough driver. He probably knows more about final lap times than I do.
As you can see there, having a look down in the mid-pack once again, Chris Simpson running in the 18th position on the racetrack. Tom Stanley right behind him right now. As you can see, just behind Stanley is Alan Patterson running himself at the rear end of the top 20. David Grunhill in the number 02 car, looking to try and get himself inside that top 10. And, well, there's a lot of close battling still going on throughout your field right now. We've got side-by-side with Dave Out Super Run right now and Mark O'Connell as they come down into that second chicane. This three-way battle with O'Connell, Super Run and Mark Turner refusing to give up, as Super Run is going to go to the outside to work themselves down into the Hill Notre Dame hairpin once again, Rachel.
That hairpin, Will, is definitely one of the trickiest corners and the slowest, in fact, on this track. And getting it right is very, very tricky. Getting it wrong, so many ways to get that corner wrong.
As you can see then, on board with Super, and actually just over revving that engine a little bit. As you can see there, just behind him is Mark Turner in that number 13 car. We'll cycle that camera back around. As you can see though, he has got himself a bit of a run now as they work themselves down into that final chicane once again. Subran on that outside line. Will he be able to complete that pass? And the number 94 cars, they come down into that final chicane. They're going to run it too wide through there, and someone's going to have to give Subran all over the curb, and Lorm is spinning it around there. He will keep going, but that was one close call, Randy.
Yeah, that's part of the risk of running that chicane as aggressive as he can. He got a little bit hung out to dry through the first part, being on the outside, tried to make it up, being all over the curb on the inside, and it kicked him sideways. I'm sure Mark Turner is breathing a sigh of relief after seeing a car spin 90 degrees to the left just ahead of him.
Yeah, and you can notice that there, that Mark Turner, very lucky. He found a lane to just push it to the outside and survive without any further incident between these drivers.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We lost one of our leaders. Djorkovic is in the pits.
Yeah, there you can see Roderick Davidovich. That car is
Oh, there was a
all
huge
sent out
incident
of
after
shape.
the second chicane.
We're going to try and find a replay.
Took him out,
of
took
this
Matthew
one.
Daniels. I believe Paul Grillo slipped by.
Yep, so we'll try and find what happened to Roderick Davidovich. But Rachel, that's our second big incident of the day involving a driver inside of the top 5.
It was indeed, Will, and judging by what I can see here, it was Richard Avery and Wojciech Davidovich coming together on the track. Davidovich had his nose inside Avery, and the track just got too narrow for the pair of them. Can't really put either of them to blame, but racing incident that took poor Matthew Daniels with him as well.
Yeah, as you can see there, coming down into the corner, Davidovich hard into the wall. That was just a bit like, was it 1997, Jarno Trulli there, Randy? But the same thing happened there to Davidovich, hard into a concrete barrier. His race is done.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about when that happened to Jarno, but definitely that's a narrow part of the track. You can make too wide there work. It is tricky though, and I'm sure Richard's probably got real nervous after that contact and what he saw was happening in his rear view.
And of course, that number 41 machine taken out in the impact there as well. He has carried on going, however, just for the time being. We'll get an update to see where he is in just one moment's time. But Davidovich, you see upside down and around there. What that does is it means that Tom Ward now has himself a 1 second advantage over Richard Avery. 10 laps going to be scored complete this time by as they work themselves to the exact same point where we had that incident. There you can see between Avery and Grillo, it is 2.6 seconds on the racetrack. From Grillo to Mark Mercer, it's 5 second gap overall. And to give you an update on Matthew Daniels, Rachel, he is all the way down in the 15th position on the racetrack after being involved in that very scary incident.
Yeah, terrible result for that. That's just not what he needed to happen, Will. We have another car slow on the track, actually. I believe that is, if I can just get the camera angle right to see past the ever-present foliage
Jason
here
McCurry.
dang it, it's,
In the meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll just
59 Will.
and the number 59 car then going a little bit slowly then, and we'll just get a look at that one on replay when we have the opportunity to do so. But in the
X9.
interim, we've got ourselves George Lee Wright battling for position with Mark Mercer, and they're going to be almost too wide coming down into the Ile Notre Dame hairpin once again, riding on board then with George Lee Wright in that number 20 car, working themselves down the back straightaway once again, Randy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what George does here. This car benefits quite a lot from the draft, and George should be able to get a run. Looks like Mark's going to try to fend the inside. That's a good move, and Rob Kane has a run from the gods, and he's going to be pulled side by side with George Lee Wright.
You can see coming down into that final chicane then, and it is 1-2, not number 33 car. Mark Mercer able to hold on as they work themselves down the front straightaway once again, having a look now from the rear of Mark Mercer. Just 3 laps to go in this event as they come down in towards turn 1. You can see George Lee Wright is going to try and look down to the inside, down into that first corner. He will slot back into line once again, but very close racing. And this is for P number 4, 5 and 6 on the racetrack, Rachel.
Yeah, P5 and 6, Will. That's George Lee Wright, of course. He's had a pretty good run today so far. He's on the tail there of Mark Mercer, sitting in 4th, and he's definitely looking like a threat with the speed. We know he's very quick, but he needs to make this one clean.
In your battle for the race lead, last time by, Richard Avery did himself a 1 minute 54.714. That is not fast enough, even though he is up 3 positions from where he started. He, like last time by, was 2 tenths of a second slower than Tom Ward. 2.5 laps of this race to go. And the thing is, Tom Ward has kind of been preserving his tyres. Avery's going to have to be driving it hard here. He's outside of draft range. He has got the opportunity to push here. Now we'll see whether Richard Avery will have anything in the last, 2 laps and a straightaway in the chicane, Randy, to try and catch up to that race lead.
Yeah, he's going to be just close enough to where if he can get a good time advantage on one of these laps, he's going to be in draft range in order to take advantage of it down this long back straightaway. And he's going to be pushing it hard. He knows that's a teammate in front of him, but I guarantee you there's no team orders in this race right now. He's going to be pushing as hard as he can, trying to get to a position where he can pass his teammate and get the win in this race.
You can see then top line speed is up to about 120 miles an hour for Tom Ward, 122 miles an hour on the apex. And you can see Richard Avery didn't get the draft there. There will be 2 laps to go this time by, and Avery just a little bit too far back, but behind you can see George Lee Wright once again trying to make that move down into the final chicane over Mark Mercer. Not quite close enough once again, Rachel, as they work themselves. They now have 2 laps to go.
Yeah, they do, and of course this will be the final shunts for positions where people are trying to find those few passing spots and secure that position. Of course, Lee Wright is looking really hard now at the back of Mercer. He wants to make something happen, but has he got enough time?
Well, he's got himself 2 laps of a lap that takes about 1 minute 55 to circulate here. But Lee Wright has got to try and find an opening. We have seen some brave moves being made here today, and maybe Lee Wright will have to do one of his own as he still finds himself in that 5th position on the racetrack. But a little bit further down as well, things have settled down in your mid-pack for the most part. Just having a look down very quickly, you can see Rich Jones and Robert Plumley battling for position right now, so they will work with themselves through turn number 1 and 2 once again, almost making themselves a little bit of a drama. But Rich Jones in P15, and you've got yourself just ahead of him, Robert Plumley in P number 14 on the racetrack. Gap between those drivers is about 4/10 of a second right now. And out front, Randy, it doesn't look as though Avery has got anything for Ward. He's half a second slower than he was this time 1 lap ago.
Yeah, Richard Avery's actually shaking left to right and he's on the short straightaway down to the hairpin. I don't know, he might have a little bit of damage on that car from that contact, which caused the huge incident. But Paul Grillo, I think, has been reeling him in. He lost a 10th that last lap. Richard lost a 10th to Tom, that is. But it'll be interesting to see.
And the gap is actually about 1.7 seconds from Avery to the rear of Paul Grillo, with just about 1 lap of this race to go. And you can see as well, Tom Ward is classified as your race leader. Timing and scoring will update itself at the line. They work themselves through the...
Sorry to interrupt, but coming into the last chicane, they're side by side again here for 4th and 5th.
Yeah, and here you can see then they are going to be battling for it. And here you can see then coming through the chicane, who will be the winner when they come out of it? It will still be Mark Mercer. 1 more lap of this motor race to go. And you can see now Lee Wright is going to look down to the inside. Once again, they will go 3 wide. No, they won't. Yes, they will. Who knows? But you can see there, it's going to be Lee Wright looking down to the inside into that first corner. And a little bit of a slide there from that number 33 car of Mark Mercer. Can Lee Wright hold it around the outside, Rachel? Doesn't look as though he can. And now he's going to be under pressure. Bit of a wiggle. He's going to try and do the cut under as they come down in towards turn number 3. I don't think he's close enough.
No, he's not. He's tucking back in line, though. He's got to go defensive because Kane will make a move if he slips. But we know this is the sort of situation that George does not exactly excel in well. He's under pressure, and that can make him make some mistakes. But he's got to get something done soon on Mark if he wants any chance of staying ahead of Kane. Kane is coming for him hard and fast.
So half a lap to go here. And Tom Ward does continue to lead the way. We'll show you Tom Ward crossing the start-finish line, and we'll let you know if anything happens with Avery and Grillo in the last lap of the race. But we'll keep it just for a moment as it is, as Robert Plumley's had himself a bit of a moment on the racetrack. There you can see that is down in turn number 3 and 4. We'll get a replay of that one after races. Plumley is losing positions as it is still very close in this battle. You can see Mercer having to defend heavily as they work themselves down in towards the Ile Notre Dame hairpin one more time. And now you can see Lee Wright looking down to the inside. He's going to try and force it through. Not quite close enough. Making a little bit of contact. They're getting the overspeed on the exit off the corner. They are going to potentially go side by side on that run to the start finish line very quickly. You'll see Tom Ward working himself down towards that final chicane for the final time. You can see though that also Lee Wright is still battling with Mark Mercer for position. They are side by side. Tom Ward crosses the start finish line. You can see Avery in second, Grillo in third. But who will be in fourth position at the moment? It's Lee Wright on the outside. On the inside is Mercer. And it looks as though Mark Mercer will get 4th place in this race as he comes across the line. Mercer in 4th, but only just by a hair there, Rachel.
Yeah, so close. Well, running out that final corner, we've seen it happen before. It can always be a run to the line, and well, that was exactly it. We had a little photo finish for the end of the top 5. Wasn't a dull race.
It wasn't. It really wasn't a dull race at all. We have ourselves Robert Plumley, of course. He had an incident on that final lap of the race. We're just going to show you a replay of this one then. And this was down in turn number 3 on the racetrack. There you can see that number 147 car came into the lap in the 14th position by the looks of it. We're just going to have a look and say it was on the exit of, I believe, turn number 3 on the racetrack. So we'll go along board with him as he works himself right now through turn number 2. So he'll work himself up the little crest and then that blind downhill turn into turn number 3, which then leads immediately into 4 and 5. But Robert Plumley in that one, the 147 car, entered the lap in a decent position. He just looped it around there and somehow avoided hitting anything, Randy.
Yeah, that's this track's kind of narrow in order to spin out and not hit anything. It's definitely pretty hard to do. Now, I don't know if anyone saw it, but our gap from Mr. Mark Mercer and George Lee Wright at the end, 3.5 hundredths of a second.
Incredibly close stuff there. As, ladies and gentlemen, your final race results here today then from Montreal. It was Tom Ward claiming victory by half a second over Richard Avery, Paul Grillo in third, Mark Mercer in fourth, George Lee Wright in the fifth position, Rob Kane in sixth, Raheem Martinez in seventh, Adam Dodd in eighth, David Burnett in ninth, and Mark O'Connell rounding out your top 10. Then as we head on further back, Pete Newman in 11th, Matthew Daniels in 12th, Rich Jones 13th, Mark Turner in 14th, Robert Plumley 15th, Chris Simpson in 16th, James Steele, Tom Stanley, Thabot Subaran, and Alan Patterson rounding out your top 20. And then they can see the rest of the results coming up on your screen. We'll step aside for just one moment, and we'll be back after these messages. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching RaceSpotTV.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's going to be the race for the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 0-1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun, but there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RaceSpotTV as we bring you post-race coverage then of this the Club UK Ireland Skip Barber Racing School Championship from Montreal, Canada, where after a race that saw Sebastian Job slam not once but twice into the Wall of Champions, Tom Ward is your winner. As we'll run you through then your final race results one more time. Your top 10: Tom Ward from Richard Avery, from Paul Grillo, Mark Mercer, George C. Wright, Rob Kane, Raheem Atanides, Adam Dobb, David Burnett and Mark O'Connell. And we start our post-race interviews with the driver who came home in the 5th place, George Lee Wright. And George, well, very entertaining battle that you had there at the end of the race. Good 4 laps trying to get yourself past the driver of, I'm just realising you're not going to be able to hear that one, the driver of Mark Mercer, but in the end, you weren't able to do it.
No, unfortunately, I couldn't pull off the move. I tried on the penultimate lap, going out of the chicane and going up into the hairpin, but he just got the switchback going down the straight, and I couldn't defend any more, to be honest.
Well, it was a good race overall. Of course, you started a little bit further down the field. How tough was the traffic in the opening couple of laps of this race?
Yeah, traffic was a major concern. Since it's being a street circuit, it's very hard to overtake, and on lap 2 I made a little bit of a collision with George Streetley, and I want to apologise to him about that. But apart from that, it was a very clean race, very hard to overtake.
Well, getting to the back end of the championship, of course, next week we go from a track that's very fast to a track which is incredibly technical. It's Summit Point Raceway. We're going to see you there, and if so, how are you going to fare?
Yes, you are going to see me there, and I've never been round Summit Point.
Well, do you know the right way of getting around Summit Point?
Nope, never even seen a picture of it.
The entire time, all you need to do is dance. Yep, there's enough of that one for now. Thank you very much, though, George Lee Wright and Matthew Daniels, finishing today in the 12th position on the racetrack. Well, Matt, it wasn't a bad race for you. Bit tough, bit hard, very intensive battle in that mid-pack, though.
Yeah, hello, well, yeah, it was a great scrap for the lead, and once Sebastian Job suffered that disconnection early on in the race, it's just a pity that Richard Avery and Roderick Zavidovic collided. Zavidovic ended up in front of me, and there was nothing I could do. I went straight into him, so I just had to pit, repair the damage and try and recover as much as I could.
Now, about the incident at itself, it's one of the fastest points of the racetrack. You work yourself downhill, then through a very, very difficult switch left-right, left complex. Did you see what actually happened of the incident in real time? For any thoughts on it at all?
I'm not sure yet. I'll have to look at it at replay.
Well,
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, all I saw was Roderick coming round, and I couldn't find the gap quickly enough.
Well, of course, in 1 week's time, we'll head ourselves over to Summit Point Raceway after losing a top 5 finish here today. Looking to bounce back as we continue to wind down the season.
Hopefully, we'll see how I do at Summit Point. It's not one of my personal favourites, but we'll see what I can do.
Matthew Daniels coming home in the 12th place here today. And Rachel, when we have a look through the races left in this season, this was round number 8. We've got Summit Point, we've got ourselves Road America, we've got ourselves Barber Motorsports Park, and Interlagos, 4 very different racetracks.
We do indeed, Will, and of course that'll bring out different talents and abilities from different drivers throughout this field. We know some of our drivers here are really good on the twistier tracks, and we've got some guys who really, really excel in the super speedways, or the super speedways of the road course, that is, places like Road America. So it's going to be interesting, and I think this will definitely be a close finish to the championship.
Yeah, and Randy, Summit Point itself, you've got one shot away from there on. You're pretty much single file unless someone makes a mistake. However, if you do make a mistake, driver, you're going to lose 5, 6, 7 positions really quickly.
Oh, Summit Point is the definition of a train racing, if there even is one. I'm surprised a lot of these people haven't driven it. It it is, in my opinion, one of the more fun tracks to drive. Very technical, not very fast, very low average speed, but it's definitely it's a challenge, and it's gonna lines are very important there. It's like a slower Coda in some ways.
Yeah.
Actually, it's like the entire slower lag section of Coda.
Yeah, that one works.
Without the S's.
Yes. And then, of course, you got Road America 1 week after that one. It's all about 90-degree corners and straightaways and fun bits. Then we hit
Let's
ourselves...
be honest, in these cars, that's going to be like a super speedway at Daytona.
Yeah.
I'm expecting them to be tandem drafting.
Oh,
Yeah.
guys, last season, remember, Will? We had them 4 wide, we had 3 or 4 rows of pack racing. It was intense, and it was amazing.
And then after that, of course, week after that, we head ourselves over to Barber Motorsports Park, where if you mind the spiders, you'll be fine. And then finally, the season will conclude at Interlagos. But don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on air numerous times here on RaceSpotTV this week, as it is birthday week. We have ourselves Champions of the Future. That'll be tomorrow as drivers take on another round of the championship. Well, that one will be at Circuit of the Americas. Then this coming weekend we have ourselves the Gathering of Tweakers Endurance Series from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, known of course better as Interlagos. Then we have ourselves the Skip Barber 2K World Cup from Summit Point, and then on Sunday the Neo Endurance Series heads over to Brazil for 6 hours of multi-class racing. We round it all up with the 18th round of the 16th Street Racing League from the world's oldest operating speedway, the Milwaukee Mile. So plenty of action in store this birthday week on RaceSpotTV. In the interim, however, this has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the 8th round of the Club UK Ireland Skip Barber Racing School Championship. Myself, Will Vincent, from Rachel Whiteford, from Randy Chenworth. We'll talk to you all next time.